let's jump into it, shall we? Krystian,
Let's do it.
welcome. We're back again.
Thank you, Ben.
My name is Ben Twist, Director of Convert Leads, and I help small to medium businesses generate more sales opportunities from leads they've already acquired using AI.
And here, my name is Krystian Jacko, and I'm the director and founder of Cognitec Solutions, where we help businesses convert more leads using AI in various ways.
Awesome. So we're recording this video simply to answer the main question and concern we get when speaking with business owners, founders, CEOs, heads of marketing, heads of sales on a day-to-day basis, which is the understanding of what's actually available in terms of AI and what it can do for their business. You would agree that's the main concern question that we get.
100%. It's the what can AI do that, well, humans can't, right? That's the main issue when dealing with it.
Yeah, it's that you don't know what you don't know. And right now, where AI is, there is a lot, it's moving at rapid pace, but the vast majority of businesses don't know really what solutions are out there.
Well, I would say it's moving at a very, very fast pace, but most businesses are stuck in the pre-AI period 4 or 5 years ago. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, I would agree. And I guess before we jump in, just to give a bit of a history of where AI is and how we got to where we are right now, because this is the end of 2024, but the ancient Greeks were talking about AI centuries ago, the autonomons, the automations, go back to the late 80s. There was investment funds using AI to trade the markets and receive record returns. An example was the Medallion Fund. Over 30 years, they returned 66% before fees, 33% after fees. Compare that to the S&P 500, average just under 11% annualized returns for 30 years. All using artificial intelligence to trade the markets. Go past that, late 90s, 1997, IBM, International Business Machines. They had a computer, Deep Blue, which beat Garry Kasparov, who was the world chess champion. How did it beat it? Well, the machine used artificial intelligence and could predict 200 million chess moves a second. The humans got no chance to that. And that was the late 90s. Fast forward 10, 15, 20 years, ChatGPT, which I would say is where most people sit right now. They're aware of ChatGPT. It's almost a buzzword, right? It's like when someone says, do you have a basketball shoe? They refer to Nike. It's kind of like that, right?
Yes.
That was only released in November 2022. Not that long ago. Now we're in 2024 and you see Apple doing partnerships with OpenAI, who is ChatGPT. You see AI being introduced in every different software, and we're really, really ramping up the pace. So that's the sort of momentum that we're taking right now. And if you were to just picture a graph with a very, very sharp horseshoe like this, we're just down here. We're only just getting started. And every single day, there's more and more opportunity and solutions out there for business owners. The reason why we're doing this is because we find when we speak to business owners, C-level directors, etc., they don't know what they don't know, and it's actually causing them to, start to lose that opportunity to improve the business, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
So AI really fundamentally, in a business sense, it can help you do two things. One, save time, or to make more money. Now, how does it save time? That's the first one,
Right.
right?
So how does AI save time? I'm gonna explain it from the perspective of a person that doesn't know what AI is, right? Maybe heard of it a couple times. Maybe used ChatGPT once. Okay. So AI in its current form, what can it do? That's the first question we've got to ask ourselves. And second is, well, how effective is it at doing it? So what can it do? Imagine a very repetitive, mostly when we're speaking about, for example, ChatGPT, it's mostly text-based tasks, which have a defined, which are repetitive and predictable, which means, let's say, you've got to update an Excel sheet, and you've got rules to updating that Excel sheet that, for example, put in this column this exact thing, or if in this column it's that thing, then put another one. Something which the rules are clear, and you can something that, well, an algorithm could complete, right?
Yeah, analyzing data, lots of controls where it's very much this is the rules, this is the guides, complete this task, do this thing, complete this algorithm. You're right.
Right. And then from there, you could take that, and how effective is AI at doing it? That's the good part. It can do it in seconds. When we're speaking about, for example, completing an Excel sheet, about once they for example, completing a list of leads and updating all of that, you can automate it really easily and do it in so when it's a, let's say it takes a person to do that 10 hours, you can do it with AI in a couple minutes, if not seconds.
Exactly right. I'll give another example. Let's say you want to write a script or copywriting, as it's called, right? Using words to sell. You're writing copy for an ad, for a website, whatever it may be. Maybe it's just a flyer. You could have a person sitting there and they could be the expert, and it might take them a few hours cumulatively to plan, brainstorm, draft, write, and then finalize that piece of content. But with AI, you feed it an input, you give it an instruction and guidelines and parameters, and then it will give you a response in seconds. And that system and that process of cutting down operational times and systemizing things from hours to seconds is really where that first massive bit of value of using AI is in saving time.
100%, 100%. What I want to touch on, what you just said, is why is AI good at generating ideas? Right? Why is it good at analyzing? And why can it do it in so quickly? The reason for that is, for those who don't know how AI operates, let's take the example of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is trained on a massive amount of data, right? It's got loads of different articles about different things, lots of stuff, pretty much you could say the entire internet, or most of it. From all that context, for its replies, it looks at which are the, for example, when we speak about, when you ask it something about dolphins, and in its database, everything that is related to dolphins then says, I love. Then it's going to look at all of its data, make a probability of the next word, and if it's in a database, the most probable is I love, it's going to write I love. In that way, it just takes probabilities of its database, right, of just the text it has, to generate ideas in seconds. From what has been already done, and it can also combine different databases, right? Different fields of knowledge to create an idea. And that's why it's so good at it.
Exactly right. It uses context, and I'm glad you said that word because that's extremely important. The context, the information, the instruction. The technical term is prompting, but instruction will do. The context, how do you want it to? Because it's not just a look. This flows into probably the way the majority of people use ChatGPT right now. They just ask a question and they get a subpar response. And either they continue to try and get a better response or they stop and go to something else, Google or whatever, right? And this is really where it gets important with the context side of things. You know, the more context you give it, the more instruction, the more information, the bigger the knowledge base, the better the answer will be. And I guess, and this to me is really why it's extremely interesting because you can continuously develop the knowledge base. Let's take the answer on dolphins. Every year, there's going to be some scientist somewhere in the world studying dolphins, and they'll publish their research to the internet. And the regular human, just using ChatGPT, can access that information and all the other information on the internet to get a better answer to their question. And it's a continuous cycle of giving it more and more information, more and more context, larger database or knowledge base to then get you a better answer to whatever you're requesting from it.
Yeah. Now, what I want to also dive into is why, for example, right? Because ChatGPT's database is what it's trained on is so big, right?
Yeah.
So by giving it a prompt, so a question of, let's say, one phrase gives you a bad reply instead of 10 phrases. What it comes down to is ChatGPT is so large, right? If you give it just a one phrase question, such as write me a text about dolphins, it's going to give you something very generic because it's going to take it from all of the database. Now, if you give it more specific, it will get it search to more specific places in the database to pull out exactly what you want. And that's where the good replies come from.
Exactly right. And you know, a little story. A week ago, I saw my grandparents who were in their 80s, and I was explaining to them how artificial intelligence and ChatGPT works. And what I did was I got ChatGPT to explain how it works in the technical language, and then I got it to rewrite it in a fourth grade level so they could understand it, to put it simply. And what did it say? It said something along the lines of artificial intelligence is like a little robot friend who's always around and always picks up new information and is always improving on being able to help you with whatever you ask it. It's the same thing. The more information you have access to and the more specific you direct your instruction, the better response you'll get. Because that's a huge problem that most people, the average person right now using artificial intelligence, regardless of the software or the solution, is they give it a simple request and it's using the vast knowledge base it has to try and answer what you want. But it's not going to give you the response you want. It's not going to truly solve or answer your question.
Now, I want to touch on that because then the question becomes, well, how do I structure my questions to ChatGPT, right?
Yep.
For that, myself, I'm using a very simple yet very effective formula. Instead of just writing things in a continuous manner, right? So one phrase after the other, which just looks like a block of text. What's better to do is to structure it by paragraphs and name the paragraph so the GPT understands what you're saying. For example, how I structure most of my prompts is paragraph about context. So who is ChatGPT impersonating? What voice are you? And where should you pull your answers from? Right? Then the goal is it to get for example, is it to reply to a user and push them to a specific direction? Is it to write an email with a specific goal in mind to, let's say, make someone click on a link and buy something? So now GPT understands, okay, well, this is who I am, this is where I want to get to, or to get someone to. And then you give it specific instructions. You can also go into memory instructions or something like that. But for specific instructions, what I mostly say is, okay, omit from saying this specific word, or add this specific beginning of your sentence. Something very specific, so tailor exactly your response to how you want it to be.
Let's just slow down a second, Krystian, because let's just drop a little bit of gold for the your first time using ChatGPT. I don't know about prompts. I don't know about training. I don't know about specific spacing and instructions. What's the best way an absolute beginner first day on ChatGPT can shortcut themselves to better responses?
How to do it is one, just ask it one question and iterate on that. Ask it follow-up questions to modify it till you get the good reply. And also asking ChatGPT, okay, if I want to get to that kind of reply, to give me more instructions of what you would need to know to give me that reply. I'll let you develop on that.
Yeah, I guess the way that I look at it is two ways. One, which is exactly how you said, which is how most people start. It's a conversation flow. It's not a one question stop. I ask a question, I get an answer. I don't like the answer, so I'm going to ask another question to then change the answer. And it's a back and forth. It's a conversation, right? It's like you're speaking to a friend and you're helping them learn a language. You teach them, they give you a response, it's incorrect, you adjust, they try again. That's exactly how it is. So that's going to be the first way to really start to improve the outcome of using any artificial intelligence system. The second way, which is a bit cheeky, is you're using the artificial intelligence to tell you how to train itself. What do I mean by that? Instead of you asking, tell me about dolphins, and you're trying to get a specific answer and you have to work your way through a series of questions. What you want to do is you want to give the context of how you want them to respond. What does that mean? Act as if you are a 30-year dolphin expert who's been studying every species of dolphin their entire life and has written papers on it, and you start loading up information of the context around how they'd like to respond. That way, it's a more dialed in answer. You're not just asking the broad, tell me about dolphins. It's, you are an expert in this field of whatever, biology, whatever it is. I want you to answer as that expert this specific question. And then you would add to that, if you require further information, just ask me. I think that's a game-changing one line sentence anybody can add to double, I would say double the output and the actual response that you get, double the quality of the answer. Would you agree?
100%. Because, as we kind of touched upon later, you don't know what you don't know. And
Exactly.
ChatGPT is the best at knowing what ChatGPT needs to do to get to a certain goal. ChatGPT is the system that knows ChatGPT the most. So use it to get to know ChatGPT.
Exactly right. That you're exactly right. You don't know what you don't know, so there could be questions that you are not asking to get an even better response. And what's the end goal? You want to get a question answered as specific as what you're looking for. So the more information and context you give, which might be limited on your end, but if you ask it to request more info from you, well, it's only going to sharpen the answer.
Exactly. And what even I want to add to that is then from your prompt, right? From the prompt you create, if something doesn't work, right? Maybe you've put a line that don't put that specific word and it still puts that specific word in, and you're so frustrated because of it. Happened to me. What you can do is simply paste that prompt into ChatGPT and ask it, hey, I've been using that prompt and it still puts the word in I don't want it to put in. Modify the prompt to make it that the word doesn't appear in the result. And we'll modify the prompt so that it will work correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go back to the second benefit, because we started going into the prompting and a very, very basic level of how you can start instructing and utilizing AI effectively as a beginner. So the first thing it can do is save time, organize data, rewrite information, words, all of this stuff, request information, formulate answers. The second way is to sell more or make more money. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Right. So how can AI make you money? Or how can AI create more sales opportunities or just drive more sales? Simply put, you can give it so much context about your specific sales script, your specific company, that it knows exactly how it's supposed to speak to a prospect to get them to buy.
And,
For
and,
example,
and to jump in here, who that prospect is, because that's key as well. Who
exactly.
who are we actually selling to? Who is the ideal customer?
Exactly. So from the point that it understands its role, the company, and the customer, and it understands how it's supposed to act in that role, for example, by you just giving it your sales script, it can then just work as a sales employee for you. So in that sense, then you've got a employee that doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to take days off, doesn't need to eat, doesn't ever get sick, and drives you more sales.
And can work at the same efficiency or at a higher efficiency that no human can possibly can.
Exactly.
Like, share an example of something you've done for a client where it's helped them sell more, something like this.
Right. So a specific thing I did for a client to help them sell more, it's not exactly creating a sales employee. It's creating a email marketer for them. So a system, right, that takes AI, their specific company, their info about their products, the info about their customers, and creating a system that writes emails automatically, right, to promote either their store or for example, a Discord community. And from there, just sending those emails out to their newsletter to drive sales.
Absolutely.
For example, one way to do it.
And let me just add this, because writing emails is a huge pain point for businesses. Huge pain point. Number one, if the business is big enough, the business owner isn't going to do it. Okay. So then they're going to either A, pay an agency externally a few $1,000s a month to write their emails, or B, they're going to hire someone, 50 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand, whatever the salary is. That's an expense and it's human capital. Whereas if you can create the right information to train an AI to do the objective or to do the task as you would if you're the A or B, well, not only is it saving the money, but well, the AI can just start pumping out emails.
Exactly.
And that's where the
what I
value comes
would
in.
want to also add into there is it's its complete efficiency in how it's doing it. For example, if you were to hire a copywriter, he would take an hour or two to write a great email. He could send it over to you, but you don't like a specific thing, or you don't like even the subject. So it goes back to the drawing board, starts over again. With AI, you can make a system, and I've already done it, which can generate 50 emails a minute. And you just pick the one you like, and you go with it.
That's something super powerful. You create multiple choices for your answer, and you choose the best. But also, it learns on itself. Instead of you having the time delay to go back to the copywriter. I don't like this, change that. Okay, then they go do it. It's instantaneous because it knows the tone of the voice for the company. It knows the product or the service exceptionally well. It knows the customer exceptionally well. You've given it previous copywriting or emails or your website to base itself off. So it knows this is in line with what the company wants to do.
100%. And tell me about it, Ben. On your side, how have you helped the client get more sales using AI?
This is my favorite part. Making clients more money from places they didn't even realize was there. Let me explain. One example of what I do, well, broadly speaking, I generate more sales opportunities from customers that the business has already acquired, organically, paid traffic, whatever it is, automatically using AI. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. We built a database reactivation system, 100% using AI to communicate with the leads, to re-engage leads that were up to 4 years old, that haven't been spoken to the business owner for 4 years, right? They were just left. That information was lost. Phone number, contact name, previous quote, that information was lost. The business owner wasn't going to go back and call them. They weren't going to go try and find them. But unfortunately, not every lead or every person buys your product or service. So what happens? If you don't have a solid system to reactivate them or to nurture them, they just get lost. They slip through the cracks. So what did we do? We built a custom AI trained within the business. Again, knows the product or knows the service exceptionally well. It knows everything about the business. It knows the customer. It knows where the customer came from. It has a process to follow. And we used SMS as the modality of communication with the leads, but all the messages in the conversation was AI generated. So what does that look like? Well, we hit about 5,000 leads from 1 year to 4 years old who haven't been spoken to since, and they all did not buy at the time that they inquired on the service. They were all messaging back and forth with AI, not human. All of them at once, maybe a couple of hundred at a time, but all of them at once, getting qualified, getting re-engaged, and then booking them onto the business's calendar as sales opportunities. In that certain case, it was, you're qualified, would you like a quote to discuss this job? The customer said yes, or the lead said yes, booked onto the calendar. If that's not selling more, I don't know what is. They've already paid for the lead. They've already given up on the deal. The lead's been long gone, but we were able to automatically, efficiently pull it out and qualify and book them onto the calendar. So all the business owner had to do was show up and take the appointment and close the deal.
That's the way to do it.
And
Nice.
I'll just add to that. Yeah, we mentioned you can either save time or make more money, but by saving time, you are inherently making more money. If, as an example, which is a very common practice, you would have yourself or your sales team go call those leads from 4 years ago, manually call. a lot of human hours. It's a lot of action and energy to try and generate a result. So this is where, again, it saved the business time by doing it automatically at scale, but it also generated the more sales opportunities at the same time.
What I want to mention also, right, is the fact that we're saving time, right, for a company. Just that. Like, do you know what's the average or minimum wage in Australia?
The minimum wage, the average salary is about $80,000 a year. That's the average income.
Right. But what would you say is that per hour about?
$25 to $40 an hour, depending on what you do.
Right. So let's say $30 an hour. If this specific system saves the company 5 hours per week, we just saved $150 per week.
Exactly. Exactly right. And it goes back to the example that you gave. I don't know if that previous client was even doing the emails, but let's say in this example let's say they were paying $5,000 a month and they were getting 5 emails a week, whatever, 20 emails, $5,000 a month, and they were written by a pretty competent copywriter. Okay, sure. But what about all those little time delays, back and forth checking? I don't like this, I don't like that. What about maybe I don't want it, maybe the ROI is not worth $5,000. How can we cut that down? Or maybe it's I want to ramp it up because they're profitable and effective, but I don't want to keep paying this person $10,000 a month to double the volume. How can we turn the dial on the volume to really, really push it, which in your case would be more volume, more emails, more times during the week or during the day. In my example would be more leads being communicated to at the same time. Like, think about it. A human can't SMS 500 individual people at once. It's just not physically possible. Yeah, you can send one bulk message to 500, but you can't have 500 conversations, qualifying, answering questions, handling objections, and then leading them to booking an appointment on the calendar. It's not physically possible.
Now, what I want to say, right, in terms of AI providing sales opportunities, being a sales employee, right?
Mm-hmm.
The most common objection about that would be people saying, well, sales is about human connection, right? AI is a robot.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, in their mind, well, that's a clear sign that AI cannot be used in sales.
Mm-hmm.
But to come to your example you just gave, let's say we have 5 people on a sales team handling each one about 100 conversations a day, right? That's 500 SMS.
Mm-hmm.
How much of human connection and human attention can one human give to one of these conversations, knowing that they have 100 going on during the day? Not much. And they will forget a couple things about that specific prospect, which would lead them to losing the sale. Now AI, that's where it excels at scale. It can still give that specific attention.
Exactly. And what I want to add to that is the following. Sales is an art. It's a science, but it's also an art. And humans, you will never be able to replace the human connection in the sales process. Not possible. However, using AI and pairing it with building it into your sales process can make you exceptionally more efficient, more profitable, and just overall the operation is seamless. What do I mean by that? Well, in your example, 5 sales staff, 100 conversations a day, trying to qualify, get a hold of people, then book them onto the call to then have a chance to sell them or get a quote or do a demo or whatever it is. blanket sales opportunity, right? Or, which is 5 salaries plus commissions, depending on the business. Or you can give those same leads to essentially a robot, to artificial intelligence that's built correctly, and it can qualify and do exactly what those salespeople would do up until the point where they're booked onto the calendar. Instead of having 5 sales staff speaking to 100 leads a day, 5 lots of wages, 5 lots of commissions, 5 lots of humans you have to manage, emotions, sick, as you said, take days off, complain about this, affected this way, want a raise, whatever. Or you just replace it. Instead of having 5, you have 2, and all they're doing is they're taking the sales opportunities that are qualified and interested. So that whole front end of getting the lead here to the chance to be able to be sold and to actually solve their problem is now automated. And that's the double whammy. That's the saving time and making more money. But because you're saving time, you're making more money.
It's making money squared.
It's making money squared. That's the best way to put it. That's the best way to put it. And I guess, let me ask you, because that's a very, very common question. How can AI communicate to my customers? Isn't it just a robot? Isn't it bad? And me personally, what do I say to them? Have you ever gone onto a bank's website and looked at the little chatbot at the bottom of the screen? Have you ever received an SMS from an insurance company or a solar company and had a conversation? It could have been AI. We're at the point where if the actual AI is done properly, the context is there, the prompting and the training or the instructions are correct, and it's been tested and iterated, you're not going to know. You're not going to know in terms of it. You'd have to be very skilled. I'll correct myself. You have to be very skilled and have an eye for it to recognize AI written copy or AI SMS. Of course, everyone can pick up an AI phone call. That's getting, more and more popular and a much bigger use case. But for the text-based stuff, you're not going to know.
Exactly.
But you don't need to know. That's the thing. You don't need to know. It still keeps the same quality as if a human would have to do it, because it's a simpler task.
Exactly. And I would want to add on to that even in not sales, even in different industries, for example, news, articles, editors are always using AI nowadays to either take a couple ideas and out of that just generate a newspaper, right? Modify a couple of things, publish it out. Saves time. It still preserves the original ideas and is just ready to go to be read.
Exactly right. And you can take that concept and do it to anything. If you want to duplicate content, if you want to expand on an idea that you have, you give it something and you tell it to expand on it this way. It's almost a second brain. You have an idea. I want to learn about dolphins. Tell me everything you know from a period of the last 10 years that was discovered about dolphins. You've given it the context. You've given it some guidelines. Now it can narrow itself down and expand on just what you want. Same with the news thing. You can have a piece of content. You can put it into an AI software or ChatGPT, and you can ask it, keep this, and this pieces of value from the piece, but rewrite it in this tone for this audience. What have you done? You've just and give me 10 different examples.
What I would want to say, right? Because some of you may be skeptical, right? Of, okay, maybe AI is used in news, right? But you would imagine from a human writing it and a AI that the human is more convincing, right? Here I have definitive proof that AI works. On my LinkedIn profile, I've been uploading every single day for about 2 to 3 months. Now, for half of that time, or even a bit more, I was writing the post myself. Then I created a AI specified on what I'm doing, so that knows exactly A to Z my company, what we offer, what we do, what are the customers, and what it's supposed to do, which is write LinkedIn posts with a couple LinkedIn posts on my competitors as examples. And I've been posting every single day, posts generated by AI for about a month. And it does better than me, which shocked me, right? And would shock you for sure.
Absolutely, but it goes back to that principle. It's just expanding on what you already know. You come to it with an idea, and it will give it to you in a slightly different way, add a spin on it. It will change the hook. It has the knowledge base of the whole internet or your business or competitors' posts or well-performing posts, and it can go, right, well, this is a good hook or the first line. This is going to get people's attention that maybe you don't know how to write, or you don't know how to write to the level where it's going to affect the result.
Exactly.
Same thing.
And it's a very good second brain because it gives the answers. It's not like brainstorming with someone you know, when we exchange ideas and the entire brainstorming session can take from 10 to 30 minutes. ChatGPT gives you the reply instantly, gives you ideas on the spot.
Absolutely. And think of the business case. Think of the use case for that. Information in seconds, instructions in seconds, output from an instruction in seconds. If you go ask an employee to do something, how long is that going to take you? Fucking emojis, bro. We're going to turn them off. We're going to turn them off.
You're too positive, man. Too positive.
We're talking about good shit.
Exactly. Balloons.
Yeah, I know, it's a party, right? I mean, just think about it. If you had access to information that was specifically targeted to what you are inquiring about in seconds, how would that affect your business? How would that affect your sales? How would that affect your time?
How would it affect your marketing? You're coming up with ideas for new publicity, right? New ads. How would it affect your product development? Coming up with new ideas in seconds for your new how to fix a specific problem or how to create a very trending and very innovative product.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to round this conversation off with a question that we'll both answer. Why do business owners need to be first exploring AI, but second using AI right now? Why is it a non-negotiable?
Why is it a non-negotiable to use AI in this specific moment? So, as you mentioned at the beginning of this call, the AI wave, right, looks like an exponential curve, which looks a bit like this. We're here. This is like the y-axis in this sense is the use of AI in the marketplace in this specific moment. So, what does that mean? Everybody in a couple years' time will use AI because, as we just mentioned, as we've been speaking all this time, can make you more money and save you time. Both of those things are which businesses really want, right? So, AI is a very non-negotiable for one because you will need it in the future. The benefits are non-deniable. And second, if you invest into it now, early before everybody else, give you an advantage, right, of using the technology, knowing it well, that when everybody catches up to you in 2 years' time, you will already know everything in and out. You have the know-how of how to use it, and you would have been already testing it and adapting it to your own strategy and developing new strategies around it to really take advantage of it before everybody else, which just means you'll steamroll your competition.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I'll piggyback on that by saying this. We're in one of the most insane periods of time right now in terms of opportunity. Artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution. It's going to be bigger than the internet. It's going to be bigger than the printing press. It's going to be bigger than, all of these, the sewing mill, every single time it gets bigger and better. So why do you need it? Why is it non-negotiable right now? Well, because we're at the stage where 96% of businesses aren't looking at implementing AI yet. That was from the US Census Bureau. That's a number that they came up with after doing their study. 96, I think 0.2 or 0.4% of businesses aren't looking at implementing AI right now. What does that mean for you? Anyone that is aware and is chasing the information and is actively doing things to learn everything you can to improve your business, to save you time or make you more money, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of your competition because you have an edge right now. Very simple example. One e-commerce business that has an AI newsletter system and one that pays a copywriter. Who can do more volume? Who can do different takes and different spins on the copy quicker? Who can do it at a fraction of the cost? Who can adjust accordingly in real time to customer data and feedback? Who's going to win? Who's going to sell more products? It's going to be this one over here, 100 out of 100 times. So if you take anything away from this conversation, take this point. Pick one section of your business, one part of the entire operation of your entire business. To pick one thing that is labor intensive, cost intensive, a lot of man hours, etc., or time expensive, and just solve that one problem first. By the time the average or the majority catch on, you're already going to have the knowledge and the experience from that one solution to stay ahead and keep moving forward faster than the majority.
Exactly. Very well said.
Give us some quick recap points of exactly what we said, like just the high level nuggets, exactly what we said.
Right. So first of all, the basis of why you should use AI is it can save you more, it can save you time and make you more money. That's one. How do you start learning how to use AI? Is simply by giving it more context onto your prompts, onto what you ask it, and going back and forth with it to get the best reply you can, keeping it in mind that you need to give it more and more information.
I'll add to that. Don't stop at the first objection. Don't stop at the first bad response, the fifth bad response. Treat it like a conversation with an ever growing knowledge base where it's your job to start chopping off pieces that don't matter, that don't relate to the answer you want. Until you go back and forth enough times, you've narrowed it down to the point where you're starting to get responses and answers that actually answer what you're asking.
Exactly. Very well said. What is also very, very important is the AI implementation curve we just mentioned. Exponential one, we are just at the beginning. So the earlier you get, the more results you're going to get in the future.
We're in an extremely exciting time to be alive. Extremely exciting. And I mean, we have the front row seat because we're, at the forefront of really understanding the information and utilizing the skills. But we had a conversation a week or so ago, and this came up. There's 1,000 different AI solutions, and there's 1,000 different niches. There's so many. You don't have to solve everything. Just start with one simple thing, get it done right, and you're either going to save time or make more money. And if you save time, you're making more money anyway.
Making money squared.
Making money squared. That's the way to end it.
Exactly. That's the way to end it.
Krystian, pleasure as always. Again, Ben Twist, Director of Convert Leads. You can find the links below. If you want to sell more, have a look. Krystian.
Ben, pleasure for this conversation here. Of course, my name is Krystian Jacko, founder and director of Cognitec Solutions. Of course, you can find it down there below if you want to convert more passively.